Dota 2 and League of Legends are the only PC MOBAs that people really play, getting over 400,000 people playing every day. While some other popular MOBAs get less than 10,000 players daily. Today I wanted to play some of these MOBAs and figure out why they ended up failing or not turning out as big as Dota or League. Trying them and giving my opinion on some topics like fun, graphics, playability, tutorial, and ultimately why I think they didn't thrive. I will start with one of the MOBAs with the biggest investments of all time. Heroes of the Storm. This game was made by Blizzard and it was supposed to be one of the big MOBAs. But it ended up not making as good as intended and getting put into maintenance mode. Playable but without any major updates. Still, the game is very complete and well made, with some concepts from other MOBAs and a lot of innovative ones. Firstly, there are horses that you can summon and move faster at all times. And there is no items or solo experience, all XP being shared by the team. Once your team reaches a certain level you get to choose between 3 different talents, letting you make different builds and strategies, while also being a lot focused on objectives. Like tributes, which is contested by both teams, and when any of the teams gets 3 of them, the enemy's towers and creeps turn useless for about 1 minute. Which is a very cool concept as it triggers a lot of fights, as that is the main objective of the game. On top of that, you could also conquer creep camps that will attack with you and get their towers down. Even without some of the concepts of other MOBAs, like farming and items, this game still seemed pretty cool, and I was excited to give it a try. Starting by the tutorial, which was very complete, teaching me everything about the basics of the game, like the tributes, creep camps and talents, as well as a hero of your choice. This tutorial was great and I picked up the game very quickly. Jumping straight into a game. I played this game's version of Crystal Maiden, because a lot of the heroes here are based on the same heroes from Dota 1. There was Pudge, Puck, and some more. The game itself was super fun, without worrying about itemization and farming, and with abilities from the start. The game was a lot more about fighting, especially when tributes spawned. This game was genuinely great. I was having tons of fun and I even played some other games with different characters. I was even looking forward to playing this game instead of Dota. The constant fighting and objective gathering was super engaging and fun, making me want to keep playing over and over. The only real problem was that sometimes the fights would take too long, as nobody can get that overpowered without items and farming. But that can be a strong point in itself. Apart from that, maybe the fact that you need to unlock new characters to play. But that is understandable. So now let's get to the ratings. Starting with fun. As I said previously, I was having a blast with this game. It didn't really turn repetitive for my time playing, even though I think it can lack a bit of depth without the leveling up and itemization. But it's still a 10 for me, exceeding my expectations a lot. For the graphics, I think they are pretty good. Clearly well made, which is expected from Blizzard. But I still prefer the Dota ones. So I will give it a 9. For playability, it's also great. Very starter friendly and easy to pick up, especially coming from Dota 2. So it's also a 10. Lastly, the tutorial was also great. Very straightforward and informative, making the game easy to get used to. Also a 10. My final rating is a strong 9.5. So I can't really figure out why this game is not more well known. Maybe people didn't want to make the change to a game that lacks some of the normal MOBA aspects. As this game arrived a bit late, being launched in 2015, 6 years after League launched. And maybe some players weren't willing to make the transition after so many years of being used to farming and getting items. Blizzard also ended up putting it on maintenance mode, leaving the community feeling abandoned and content creators shifting to other games. Still, the game is not that dead. With quick queues and allegedly 3 million monthly players. I definitely recommend and I will play it again for sure. But let's get right to the next game, which will actually be a 3D MOBA. Made by Hi-Rez and available on every device, including PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. This game has the normal MOBA features, looking like paladins but fucked and with items and minions. It's still a bit confusing to me how this game works, so you have a general idea of my experience. But a big difference from other MOBA games is how in this game you don't destroy a final tower like in Dota. Instead, you have to kill a certain number of creeps and heroes or make them reach the enemy portal. Aside from that, just the fact that you can get bonuses from killing jungle creeps. But let's get straight to my experience on the game. Launching Smite, I had some problems. My computer started having a seizure and I had to restart the game a couple of times. Then the game would not fit in my screen and I had to spend quite a bit of time getting the resolution right. Until I was finally ready for the tutorial, which taught me the basics. Like how to walk, attack, use abilities and the main objective of the game. Still, I was pretty lost on what I had to do on my first game. I just walked around spamming abilities. Which was like all my experience from the game. I played some games with different heroes and the game was actually pretty fun. But like brain-dead fun where I would just go around hitting enemies and combos, eventually winning the game. I ended up discovering that this game also has an item system, but it was automatically buying my items. At the end, I would say the game is okay. The 3D aspect is cool, but the tutorial kinda sucked and my whole experience was wandering around killing creeps. After playing this game for some time, my wrist was hurting bad from spamming so many abilities. And that is probably the fate for every Smite player. Gladly, I have the perfect solution. Did you know that long gaming or work sessions can cause stress on your wrist that accumulates and can lead to severe injuries like carpal tunnel syndrome? That is why Save Your Wrist is here. By getting their newest ergonomic support pillow, you can ensure safety and comfort on both gaming and work sessions. Save Your Wrist is offering free shipping to the first 20 buyers. So rush and get yours on the first link in the description, and let's get right back into the ratings. Starting with fun. This game was pretty fun but without the strategy component. So it's like a 6 for me. The graphics are also not the best. Still good, but as it is a 3D game they lack a bit of aesthetic. So it will be a 7 for me. For the playability, it's definitely a bit low. I had problems starting the game and it didn't feel as smooth as Dota or Heroes of the Storm. So it will be a 5 for me. Lastly, the tutorial, which I think is their weakest point. A bad tutorial can make a bad experience overall, and that's what I think happened to me. I was not understanding the game and its strategies, making it feel confusing and not very well polished. Being like a 4 for the tutorial. Overall for Smite, I will give them a strong 6. The game is definitely fun and overall not bad, but I just didn't really like the concept of the game. I think it didn't succeed because it's not very well polished, lacking in some aspects. With a bigger team, I think this game can be a lot better and definitely more well known. At least Smite 2 is coming soon, and I'm excited to see how it turns out. Let's now launch the third game, which I have high expectations for. It's Battlerite. A game like Dota, but instead of destroying towers it's just straight hero face-off. Mostly 2v2 with a ton of different heroes to choose from. Also, the main concept in-game is energy and max health. You need to get energy to use some special abilities and your ultimate. And you can gather it by collecting orbs or the ball that spawns in the middle. Then, when your HP reaches a certain limit, you cannot regenerate it back. That being your max health. You can only get your max health up by capturing the orbs and the ball. Overall, it's just a 2v2 with heroes and with objectives to get. And it literally takes 2 GB of space. So it should run fine on every computer. But let's see how good it actually is. As always, I launched the tutorial and it was honestly great. Going over the objectives of the game and how it all works. Teaching me a hero to start. Also, this game seemed pretty straightforward, so I got used to it quickly. Launching my first game, I was actually having a ton of fun. The game is kind of simple but entertaining, where you try to land combos and play with your teammate, while also keeping an eye for objectives. The only problem I really had was that sometimes the games took too long and it was pretty repetitive. After playing some games with different heroes, it's safe to say that the game is pretty cool, even though it's kind of repetitive. So let's quickly get to the ratings. For fun, I will give it a 8. The game is fun and seems perfect as a game to play from time to time or to just chill. It's not very complicated but still enjoyable. For the graphics, I will also be giving it an 8. For a game with relatively low players and only 2 GB worth of space, the graphics look pretty good, with a nice aesthetic to it that is maintained on all the game. For playability, it's definitely a 9. It gave no problems launching. Good HUD and very straightforward and helpful guidance. Which also counts for the tutorial, also with a 9. Even though the tutorial took a bit too long in my opinion, it really helped me to get the game and its objectives. And it was very helpful and complete. Overall, I will give it a 8.5. Not as good as Heroes of the Storm, but definitely fun even though it's a bit repetitive. Which is why I think they didn't make it into that big of a game. In my opinion, with some variety to the game modes, this game would definitely be a 9+. Now the last game was one of the reasons why I made this video, and you probably already saw it on the thumbnail. The Pokémon MOBA, Pokémon UNITE. Sadly, the game is not available on computer, but I still got it on my phone. This game has a ton of innovative concepts, where you kill other Pokémon for points and then you have to score on the enemy towers to destroy them. Also, there are bosses that give you perks and you can choose your ability paths. Quite similar to Heroes of the Storm. The tutorial was perfect. It explained everything and is easily the best tutorial so far. I already had high expectations for this game and it just boosted them. Starting the game, it was pretty fun. You would kill Pokémon and then face your opponents. But after some time it was literally just doing the same thing over and over. There wasn't item building and you didn't even need to aim your abilities. You just need to click them and they would always hit. I played 2 games and I was already completely bored. The game seemed cool, but realistically it wasn't that interesting. Maybe my matchmaking was just super low level, but I was just going around killing everyone over and over, and that is not very fun. At the end I was kind of disappointed. So let's just get to the ratings. For fun is easily the lowest of them all. Maybe a low 4. Each of the other games had some aspect that made it fun, and at least it was on computer. For the graphics is easily a 8. The game is made for phone and it's pretty light, but the graphics still look great. For playability is like a 9.5. Very good and polished in every aspect, which is expected from Pokémon. Lastly, for tutorial is a 10. This game has a ton of potential and probably has a ton of money pumped into it. Sadly, it's kind of boring and there isn't even a PC version. Ultimately I give it a 6, and it's pretty big, so I can't really say it failed. And that is it for the MOBAs. If you enjoyed and would like to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to get your pillow and save your wrist. I'm literally saving your life. Link in description. Bye.